Outside, Killian emerges from the cave carrying Shrills in his arms. He gently cups her face, lifting it to gaze at her while she's still unconscious. After setting her down on the ground, he walks toward the bunker entrance. He stops in front of the statue, staring at the hideout with a serious expression. Seeing him go in alone, Kella loses all hope, thinking it's all over for them. Once inside, he notes that the ancient dungeon shows signs of being recently disturbed. Believing he's being watched, he warns that he doesn't want anyone else getting involved. Pointing his sword at her, he tells Kella to show himself if he wants her to live. From inside the bunker, they watch the threat through a small crack. In despair, Kella realizes they wouldn't stand a chance against him even if they all fought together. Just then, Ren says there's only one option left and proposes a plan to create a distraction. She orders Kella to escape through the secret passage, leaving him completely shocked. She insists it's the only way for him to survive. Speechless, Kella understands the sacrifice they are about to make for him. With fierce determination, Ren yells that he has to survive no matter what. Silently, he watches his companions prepare for their final stand. Then the statue grinds open, revealing Ren and Wood to Captain Killian. They charge at him, screaming that they'll never forgive what he's done. With a look of contempt, he comments that he knew they were hiding like rats. Suddenly, roots erupt from the ground and trap Wood, who yells at Kella to escape. Wood warns that he'll use his shield to block the view. With a choked apology, Kella runs, but he can't help but look back at Shri and his friends. As he runs for his life, he realizes this is no longer the game he once knew, and he decides he can't die again without accomplishing something first. With a sigh of relief, Ren sees that Kella has finally managed to escape safely. Without hesitation, Killian launches a swift attack toward the remaining two, striking Ren head-on and sending her flying backward with incredible force. Right after the attack, he calmly asks where Kella might be, but Ren just screams back that Kella was never there. Ren charges to attack him head-on, and seeing an opening, Wood also rushes in with a powerful punch, but Killian blocks it effortlessly with just one hand. Noticing their races, he asks mockingly if demons and dark elves are the best they've got. Suddenly, Deed appears from behind and tries to strike him, but his attack is blocked. Ren reacts with surprise, not understanding what's happening. At the same time, he uses his other arm to defend against a kick from Wood. Reeling from a counterattack, Wood is suddenly grabbed by the neck. He struggles, thinking he just needs to buy a little more time for the escape. Ren then screams that they will never reveal where Kella is hiding. Calmly, Killian replies that he didn't ask, but that it would certainly make things easier. He then warns that if Kella doesn't show up, he will kill them all. Staring into his eyes, she realizes she's never seen anything like them before. His gaze was like a void, showing no emotion at all. Squeezing harder, he makes Wood choke, leaving him barely able to breathe. Meanwhile, the blade at her throat begins to slice into her skin. Overcome with terror, she thinks to herself that she can't die like this. Just then, an image of Kella flashes through her mind. Terrified but defiant, she continues to resist, the enemy threatening her. She screams at him to just kill her, shouting that she's not afraid to die. Wood chimes in, telling the enemy to go ahead and kill them both, since Kella isn't around anyway. Impressed by their loyalty, Killian remarks that Kella has some truly devoted subordinates. With a sneer, he promises to grant them a quick and honorable death. Steeling themselves for the end, Ren and Wood face their foe with grim determination. But just as the execution is about to happen, Kella's voice suddenly echoes through the area. Kella appears on the scene, yelling that they're his subordinates now. Startled, Killian turns to face him, remarking that he finally decided to show his face. Kella's companions stare at him, asking why on earth he came back. Furious, Kella says he understands now that this isn't a game. Thinking of his friends, he realizes they feel the same way. Now, understanding how much they mean to him, he declares that he can't just stand by and let them die. Facing his enemy, Kella shouts that he's the one they want, demanding they let his friends go. Killian releases the elf, shoving him to the ground where he collapses, coughing. He then reveals his intention to kill all demons because of what happened in the past. Kella retorts that he's seen guys like the captain before. Filled with rage, he bellows that he has no intention of dying that easily. He lunges forward, attacking Killian as their swords clash with tremendous force. Seeing Kella in danger, Ren yells that they're going to help him fight. But Kella roars back that it's a direct order for them to get Shrills out of there. Unsure what to do, Ren tries to argue, but Wood stops her, reminding her they have to obey his orders. Frustrated, Wood admits that they would only get in the way right now. Stunned by his bluntness, Ren just stares at him, speechless. Kella then repeats his command, screaming for them to get out of there now. With great reluctance, Ren finally agrees and prepares to leave. As they carry Shrills away, they beg Kella to make it back alive. Kella charges again, trading a flurry of intense blows with Killian. Killian's eyes flicker for a moment toward the escaping group. Kella yells at him to focus, telling him his fight is with him and him alone. Seeing through the tactic, Killian remarks that Kella is just trying to buy time for his friends. He then taunts him, saying this kind of weakness is what defines his limits. With a powerful strike, he sends Kella flying into a nearby wall. Standing over him, Killian declares that the Demon King's bloodline ends today. Wounded and struggling, Kella realizes his enemy is on another level entirely. Paralyzed by the power difference, he knows his opponent could kill him at any moment. Left with no other choice, he decides he's done holding back. He yells that he's about to unleash the full power of the Demon King. As his energy erupts around him, he vows to fight to his last breath. His sword fires a powerful beam of energy straight at his opponent. Harnessing his newfound strength, he charges forward and strikes Killian head-on. As he recognizes the power, he realizes it wasn't just Shrills who was holding him back. With this new strength, he can finally see Killian's sword path clearly. He remarks to himself that it's like he's become a completely different person. Killian confirms that Kella has indeed inherited the Demon King's blood, but scoffs that the outcome will be the same as he attacks once more. From the force of the blow, huge chunks of rock start falling from the ceiling. Barely keeping his balance, Kella is stunned by his own power. Seeing the whole place start to crumble, Ren screams that the dungeon is collapsing. Wood then reminds her that their top priority is to follow orders and get Shri. While carrying their companion, Ren frets that she still hasn't woken up from the spell. Running for their lives, Wood shouts that the exit is right up ahead. Back in the fight, Kella braces himself and unleashes another attack with his sword. The attack shoots forward, managing to graze Killian's cloak. Surprised, Killian remarks that it's unexpected for such a clumsy strike to even cut his cape. Struggling, Kella realizes he can't fully control this new power. He then realizes that the more he uses this strength, the more his own body breaks down. Feeling a wave of pain, he screams that his body can't take much more. In response, Killian calls him a fool, but Kella just tells him to shut up. Furious, he yells that he already told him they aren't his subordinates. Without a second thought, he charges and attacks with a powerful downward strike. From the force of the battle, a nearby statue begins to tremble intensely. Glancing over, Killian mutters that Deed must have noticed the commotion by now. Warning that playtime is over, he strikes Kella and disarms him in one move. The force of the blow sends Kella's sword flying out of his reach. Now unarmed, he desperately tries to reach for his fallen weapon. Seizing the opportunity, Killian lunges forward and runs his sword straight through his chest. Then Killian tells him to tell his father in hell who it was that killed him. Struck by the dark energy, Kella screams in pain as he bleeds profusely from the fatal attack. He realizes his recovery can't keep up and that he's slowly dying. Meanwhile, leaving the dungeon, the others breathe a sigh of relief that they're finally outside. Ren then says the dungeon is about to collapse and worries about Kella, but Wood reminds her their mission was to get Shri to safety, just as Kella ordered. Upset, she asks if that's all they're really supposed to do. She angrily points out that Kella came back to save them from that very situation. So she questions if it's really right for them to just run away like this. Hearing her outburst, Wood just stares at her in silence for a moment. Then agreeing with her, he says the order was only to take Shri to safety. Realizing the loophole, they figure there were no orders for what to do after that. Meanwhile, Kella screams as Killian's dark energy courses through him. With his body feeling like it's on fire, he realizes his regeneration isn't working. Suddenly, a figure zips back onto the scene. Shouting angrily, Ren orders Killian to get away from Kella right now. Surprised by her return, Killian glances over at Kella, who's still suffering from the blow. As Ren attacks, he just complains that she's another pest. Taking advantage of the distraction, Wood attacks Killian from behind with a powerful shield bash. In response, the captain whirls around and lands a hard punch right in his gut. Confused, Kella asks why they came back when he told them to run. Ren explains that they've already gotten Shri to a safe place. Wood adds that they're going to fight together until the very end. At a loss for words, Kella just calls them a couple of idiots. Thinking about his past life, he wonders if he ever would have had friends like these. Looking back, he just remembers his father drinking and beating him. His so-called friends were just jealous and never once treated him like a real friend. To escape reality, he hid away in the world of video games. He honestly thought he would always be alone. But things were different now. He realizes with gratitude that he now has people willing to risk their lives for him. Clenching his fists, he prepares to use every last bit of his power. With newfound determination, he resolves that he's not alone and that he has to recover. With a shout, he charges forward, telling himself he has to take any chance he gets. Screaming that he won't give up, he faces Killian with everything he's got. Seeing their stubborn resistance, Killian smirks that they're determined to fight to the bitter end. Now recovered, Kella rejoins Ren to challenge Killian. With fierce determination, he yells that they will never back down from this fight. Far away, Deed arrives on the island, recalling that he saw Killian head in this direction. Riding his creature, he asks aloud if the captain was trying to have all the fun by himself. With a mocking smile, he says he can't let that happen. Elsewhere, Shri is still unconscious among the island's rocks. Despite her injuries, she finally begins to stir. Her eyes then snap open, revealing a completely new and intense glow. Back in the fight, Killian gathers a new magical power in his hand. He strikes first, attacking Wood, who does his best to defend with his shield. Immediately after, he goes for Ren, who tries to block the blow with her daggers. In one swift move, he manages to land a deep cut across Kella's chest. He scoffs, asking if they really thought they could beat him with numbers alone. Realizing what a disadvantage they're at, Kella knows his body won't hold out much longer. Desperate, he thinks he can't even buy them any time, and that they're all gonna die. He angrily screams that this is his fight, and tells them to get out of there. But Ren insists their minds are made up and there's no turning back now. Wood chimes in, vowing they'll stand by Kella until the very end. Touched by their loyalty, Kella is left completely speechless. Killian coldly scoffs that it's pointless, they'll all die by his hand regardless. Gripped by terror, Kella starts to think this might really be the end. But just then, a massive blast of energy erupts out of nowhere, interrupting the standoff. Startled, they all turn toward the source of the massive explosion, wondering who could have just arrived on the scene. Meanwhile, from a distance, two figures observe the battle, seemingly understanding exactly what's going on. And then Shrills appears, announcing that it's a good thing everyone's safe. Kella stares in disbelief, asking if it's actually her. Overjoyed, Ren and Wood start celebrating, thrilled to see she's finally okay. Deed, standing beside her, grumbles that this is impossible, but she just ignores him. She puts her foot down literally and tells him to zip it. With a serious expression, she finally turns to face Killian, the captain of the Tolkien squad. Killian looks surprised, wondering how she managed to endure the abyss of pain and even defeat Deed. He admits he never dreamed she could overcome Curdley's magic. Crossing her arms, she casually reveals that she spent twice as much time in the abyss. As she unleashes her power, she declares that this is the strength of the Sixth Circle. Ren and Wood are absolutely stunned, unable to process what they're seeing. Kella is equally shocked, wondering how she could have gotten so strong so fast. Killian just stares, remarking that she's always full of surprises. He then admits that now she's finally making his heart pound. Channeling her power, she tells them it's time for them to rest. As the magic envelops him, Kella realizes his wounds are healing at an astonishing speed. Ren and Wood also notice her healing is way more powerful than before. With his eyes glowing, Kella realizes the tide of this battle has officially turned. Turning his focus to Shrills, he readies himself for the impending showdown. With a serious look, Killian declares that he wants her for himself. Furious, she yells back, asking how he could dare to harm her companions. Caught by surprise, Killian is hit by a sudden mist, reacting with confusion as he tries to figure out what's happening. Lost inside the magical fog, he wonders if its purpose is to make him lose his bearings. He then realizes this spell is far different from the one Curdley used to use. He closes his eyes, attempting to find an escape route, but he's instantly barraged by attacks from all sides within the mist. Determined, he resolves to handle each and every one of the incoming blows. He expertly dodges blow after blow, avoiding every attack despite being blinded by the mist. Annoyed, Kella launches a head-on assault, but Killian easily parries it. Determined to put an end to the spell, he raises his sword, preparing to slash his way out. Shrill shouts a warning, telling them they must stop him before he can escape. Understanding the urgency, Kella yells back that he won't waste this golden opportunity. He declares that he'll give it everything he's got, even if it completely wrecks his body. He lunges forward and his strike lands true, slicing off Killian's arm. The dismembered limb hits the ground, its hand still clenched tightly around his sword. Killian looks down at the profusely bleeding wound on his shoulder. Kella realizes with a shock that Killian still managed to avoid a direct hit to his head. Holding Kella's blade in place, Killian reveals that he still managed to stop the fatal part of the attack. He then faces Kella, admitting he only dropped his guard because of her. Just then, a strange new power begins to surge from Killian's eyes and body. Sensing the threat, Shrills and Kella both scream out that this is bad. The scene then cuts to a flashback of a group of people walking through the mountains with two small children. A terrified young Killman asks his older brother where they're being led. Their father tells them there's no need to be afraid because today is a very special day. He then reveals they're going to meet the god of light, Lumieron. Completely confused, Killman just repeats the god's name, not understanding what's happening. Crying, he asks what's going to happen to them and if they did something wrong. With a chilling smile, his father replies that they are perfect for the sacrifice. A woman explains that Lumière only accepts the purest souls. Their father adds that Killian was always special, destined to be given as an offering. He continues stating that the boy was born for the sole purpose of being sacrificed to the god. Pointing towards a nearby altar, the father proclaims that a glorious destiny awaits them there. Horrified, Kilman asks his brother if this is where they're going to die. The young Killian calmly tells him no, promising that his brother won't die today. At the altar, the group's leader presents the children as an offering to the entity, announcing that the two of them will become one with Lumière and live for eternity. As he summons the great beast, the leader implores it to accept their offering. The followers all celebrate the arrival of their great god Lumière with fervent devotion. As his mother pushes him forward, little Kilman screams for someone to help him. Next, the father tells young Killian to go and meet his destiny. The boy simply stares at the giant creature, remaining completely silent and showing no emotion. His entire vision is then consumed by the overwhelming power radiating from the god. Back in the present, he unleashes his power, blasting everyone around him. The force of the attack sends Kella flying violently into the rubble. Ren is also sent flying, screaming from the impact. Even with his guard up, Wood is shoved back by the sheer energy, struggling to hold his ground. Annoyed, Shrills complains that the light is disrupting her imprisonment magic. Furious, Killian roars that Kella took his brother Shrills in his arm. He then vows to show him a never-ending hell. Realizing Killian won't back down, Kella braces himself for the final battle. Seeing the severed arm, he knows this is his only chance to win. Unleashing his power, Kella declares he'll send Killian straight to hell himself. Facing off, the two prepare for their final confrontation. Watching from a distance, Shri notices Kella's energy has grown immensely. Hopefully, she thinks that maybe now they finally have a chance to win. Suddenly, the spirits of the entire village materialize beside Killian. The rest of the squad arrives, shocked to see their captain's missing arm. Shrills grumbles at their arrival, saying they can't possibly fight everyone at once, but then she notices something strange and is taken aback by what she sees. She notes that Kella is so focused he hasn't even registered their arrival. With total concentration, he thinks that he must kill him right here, right now. At that moment, Killian unleashes his own power, preparing for the final attack of the fight. Screaming with rage, Kella bellows that he'll end everything in this instant. Deciding to act, Shri declares she can now take down the entire Tolkien squad. Suddenly, a strange magic envelops Ren, who reacts in confusion. Wood is also caught in the spell. Surprised by its power, Kella finds himself engulfed by the magic, positioning himself inside a large shadow creature. Attacking with full force, the shadow creature lunges at Killian. Though wounded, he manages to land surrounded by the remnants of dark magic. Looking up, he stares in shock, unable to comprehend what just happened. Arriving at the scene, his squad finds only Killian with no one else in sight. Annoyed, Audrea yells, demanding to know where the demons went. Kalla then recognizes the magic, remarking that he thought only advanced mages could use it. Confused, Curdley says it's impossible to reach the sixth circle so quickly. With a focused gaze, she carefully analyzes the situation. Alone and badly injured, he observes the now empty battlefield. Lowering his head, he quietly speaks Kella's name. Seeing his missing arm, Audrea screams that she'll kill them all for this. Kalla says he can't believe they defeated Deed while separated from the group. Picking up his severed arm from the ground, Killian holds it firmly. He then promises that next time he'll inflict even greater pain. Surrounded by his own energy, Kella prepares for the impending confrontation. Surprised, he realizes Killian has completely vanished from the battlefield. Frustrated, he yells, demanding to know where Killian went and telling him to come out. He then vows that as long as Killian keeps hurting them, he will fight back. As he's hugged, he hears Shrill say that everything is all right now and that everyone is safe. Looking back at him, she explains that Killian is gone. Confused, he just stares at her, wondering how she suddenly appeared. Noticing everyone else is there, he glances to the side and sees them. He then asks if all of his companions are really alive. With a smile, Ren confirms that yes, they all made it. Wood then adds that everyone is alive thanks to the two of them. Crying with relief, Kella is overjoyed that no one was seriously hurt. Exhausted, he kneels, sighing that it's a huge relief. He then thanks everyone for surviving such a difficult battle. Finally, together again, the group of four rests after the fight, all smiles. Shri looks at him, relieved by the outcome. She then tells him she held on until she reached the sixth circle, which was a huge relief. He immediately pulls her into a tight embrace. He admits he thought she'd been killed by Curdley's magic. Still holding her, he thanks her for managing to survive. Hugging him back, she tells him she would never die and leave him behind. From a distance, Ren silently watches the scene unfold. Kella then thanks everyone, saying that none of this would have been possible without them. but Ren replies that they're the ones who would have died if it weren't for him. Shrill points out they still have a chance since they cut off his arm. Agreeing, Kella says it's a huge relief that it's finally all over. With a serious look, he realizes he's still the same old cowardly Kella. He then makes a promise to himself that he will never run away again. With renewed determination, he decides he will become the strongest of them all. Looking around, he asks where exactly they are now. Explaining the magic, Shrill says a teleport's destination is always random. At this, Ren worries, thinking they might have landed in the enemy kingdom. But Shrills reassures her, explaining the spell only teleports them to other demonic locations, so Kella says they need to figure out where they are to plan their next move. Later, Wood asks how she managed to reach the sixth circle so quickly. Inviting them for a drink, she says she's been holding back for decades and really needs to unwind. Without wasting any time, Kella announces that they should start exploring the area. Elsewhere, Curly announces that the captain's bleeding has finally stopped. Lying on the ground, Killian laments that he has failed all of his comrades. Deed tries to reassure him, saying not to worry because he's still incredibly strong. Annoyed, Killian tells Deed to shut his mouth before he kills him on the spot. With a grin, Deed says he was just kidding, adding that Killian really did almost die. Audrey angrily yells that she can't believe they actually managed to tear off his arm. Killian explains that he let his guard down because of Shrills. Deed laughs, commenting that he never would have imagined Killian getting humiliated like that. With a sadistic glint in his eye, Deed vows that Shrills will die by his hands. Getting serious, Killian declares that Shrills will be his no matter what. Curly then warns that his arm is in severe condition, suggesting they return immediately and call for the holy healers. Curly explains that there's no way to track them now, and any tracking magic they try could easily fail. Furious, Audrey screams that if she has to, she'll hunt them down herself right now. Killian orders them all to return together, warning that Shrills is extremely dangerous. Audrey complains angrily, shouting that Shrills is nothing more than a test subject. While receiving treatment for his arm, Killian promises that he will hunt them down again soon. With a look of grim determination, he vows that none of them will escape his grasp. Meanwhile, far away, the group celebrates, relieved to have escaped the island with their lives. While having a drink at the tavern, Surreal comments on how incredible the drinks are. Sitting together at a table, they ask her how she managed to evolve so fast. She then reveals that the magic book she found was no ordinary tome. It pulled her into an abyss, where she met someone special. Continuing her story, she reveals she met a mage named Fel there. With a smile, she clarifies that it was actually the mage's shadow. Kella is shocked by the revelation of an 8th circle mage. Ren then asks if the dungeon was created by the Demon King himself. Confirming his theory, she suggests that perhaps Kella was guided by his own blood. Not understanding, he asks if it wasn't his will but Turk's. He then questions how someone who's been dead for so long could have done that. Recalling his vision, he wonders if he actually met Turk Calden in person. Thinking it over, Kella realizes that Turk Calden could be an unexpected clue. At this, Shri reveals that time in the abyss flows differently than in reality. With a smile, she says the time she spent there was equivalent to 28 years. Shocked, Ren yells that 28 years is a ridiculously long time. She confirms, yes, it was a very long time. She remembers an endless pain that felt like it was tearing her body apart. The pain was so intense that she would have rather died than continue to endure it. Fel helped her reach the 6th circle, but the pain was agonizing. All the while, the mage watched the entire process with a serious, attentive look, trembling at the memory. She says there's no need to talk about that hellish time, especially not with Ren, who she claims has too soft a heart for it. With a smile, she says she'll keep the painful details to herself. Annoyed, Ren shouts, asking if she endured decades of training just for their sake. Kella then says he had no idea and feels he failed to protect her from that pain. Changing the subject, she asks them to just congratulate her on her achievement. Excited, Ren praises her, saying she's simply the best. Watching the scene, Kella notices that while she's smiling, something about it seems off. With a suspicious look, he gets the feeling she's hiding something from them. Kella then asks where they are, and Wood replies that it's a village. Surveying their surroundings, Shrill figures they're on the outskirts of Karta. Surprised, Ren asks if Karta isn't the demonic city of knowledge. She confirms it is, explaining it's a secret area far from humans. Exhausted, Ren asks if they can rest, saying his body feels completely broken. Shrails explains that Killian's energy is still affecting them. Remembering the blue energy gives Kella the chills and he looks terrified, so they decide to stay put for a few days to recover. The group settles into a room at an inn for the night, wishing each other well. However, Kella says he needs to step out to take care of something. Lying in bed, Shrills tosses and turns clearly, in a great deal of pain. Outside, Kella examines his daggers, wondering if they hold some kind of power. In her own bed, Ren silently prays for the dagger's entity to appear before her soon. Recalling their hug, she admits to herself that it's a selfish thought. Staring at the ceiling, she worries that Shrills will take Kella away from her completely. In another bed, Wood silently observes his shield. Caressing the weapon, he tells it that it suffered a lot and that he needs to get stronger. With his eyes closed, he promises it will never feel that kind of pain again. Outside, the town is quiet under the starry night sky. Alone, Kella takes out the small stone, saying it's safe now. With a bit of magic, he places the small stone on the ground and takes a few steps back. Staring at his hands, he mutters that he's still not able to tap into his full potential. He's suddenly reminded of all the incredible powers he inherited from the Demon King Turk. It dawns on him that if he could have used those powers, the fight would have been a cakewalk. But frustratingly, he couldn't access a single one of them during the battle. Thinking of it like a video game, he knows he can't afford to underestimate his own leveling up process. He clenches his fists, already getting pumped for a rematch with Killian. Full of determination, Kayla vows he'll figure out a way to get his powers under control. Meanwhile, from a distance, a mysterious hooded figure is watching Kella's every move. With an unreadable expression, they continue to spy on him from the shadows. Elsewhere, a group of individuals receives a message from a messenger crow. The bird lands smoothly on their leader's arm, ready to deliver its report. He's shocked to learn that the Talcon group was wounded and had to retreat to the castle. The crow then reveals that Shrills has become a Sixth Circle mage. The leader flies into a rage, yelling that it's impossible since she was just a test subject. One of the other figures chimes in, "This is great news actually. Kella's group has failed." He then points out that Lord Hayden now has the perfect opportunity to capture them himself. The leader eyes him suspiciously, asking if he can actually track them and adding a little threat. With a smug smile, the man says there's really no other choice, and that he knows exactly where they are. Losing his patience, the leader demands he spit it out. Revealing their location, he announces that Kella is in the secret city of Carta. Inside a demonic city, Kella's group is finally enjoying some downtime. Sitting at a table, Ren looks absolutely delighted with her snack. Just then, Shrills asks Kella what he's thinking about so intensely, and he gives her a serious look. Ren happily points out that he's getting stronger, but Wood quickly shushes her. Wood worriedly reminds them they need to be careful so no one figures out Kella's true identity. At a nearby table, two guys are trash-talking Kella, calling him the weak link of the group. Shrills overhears them and starts seeing red, but Kella just tells her to chill out. She doesn't back down, asking if he's really going to let those jerks get away with talking smack. Kella just shrugs off the insult, telling everyone they should just find another spot. Shrills is still baffled, wondering how he can stay so calm after hearing that. As they walk away, she remembers how he sliced off Killian's arm, which was an absolutely incredible move. Kella lays out his master plan. He needs to build the ultimate dungeon and recruit some powerful allies. Hearing this, Shrills finally cools her jets and asks where they're going to start. He tells them there's an ancient library in the city and it's a place of major importance. Kella is confident he can find something in there that will help him level up. When they arrive at the Carter Library, they find the place is guarded like Fort Knox. From their hiding spot, Kella notes the heavy security and asks Wood to do a quick analysis of the building. Focusing his power, Wood closes his eyes and begins scanning the entire structure. His analysis quickly pinpoints a secret passage located in the library's basement. Wood also mentions that he's sensing a different kind of energy coming from a very specific room. Intrigued, Kella asks for more details, and Wood explains it might be related to the stone. Shrills immediately chimes in that this must mean something important is in that room. Kella finally understands why security is so tight, suspecting the library holds vital information about the Demon King. Determined to get inside, he asks Wood to find them a stealthy way in. Wood promptly points out a small, hidden entrance on the side of the building. After slipping inside, the group moves cautiously through the halls, with Shrills commenting on the ancient architecture. Suddenly, they hear a noise up ahead, and Shrills motions for them to investigate. Using his magic, Kayla instantly cloaks the entire group in shadows. Just in the nick of time, two guards appear patrolling the very corridor they're in. Seeing nothing out of the ordinary, the guards just continue on their patrol route and leave. Shrills gives the all clear, and Kella gives her a nod of approval. Heading deeper, they discover a massive complex labyrinth drawn on the floor. Wood explains the place is rigged with traps, but he can use his senses to guide them through safely. With Wood leading the way, the group navigates the labyrinth, while Ren can't help but praise his awesome abilities. As they reach the end, Shrills points out what looks like the exit, but as she moves, Wood accidentally steps on a hidden tile, activating a trap. An alarm suddenly blares, and Kella realizes his magic has been nullified. Alerted by the racket, several guards immediately start rushing toward their location. Ren starts to panic as the guards get closer, frantically pointing toward a potential hiding spot. The guards sweep the area, but find no one, figuring it must have been a false alarm. Still, one of them decides they should report the incident to the caretaker just in case. Safely hidden inside a closet, they overhear an order to reinforce security. Once the guards are gone, Kella cracks the door open ever so carefully. Stepping out, he tells the group they need to be more careful from now on and asks for their current location. Following Wood's directions, they hurry down a long stone staircase. They stop before a massive door, and Kella announces they've arrived. He reads the inscription aloud. Knowledge is permitted only to the qualified. After analyzing the barrier, Shrills confirms that the door has been magically sealed. Kella repeats the word qualified to himself, preparing to take action as he activates his power. He declares he's going to try opening the door himself. As he touches it, his power surges into the door, which immediately begins to react. Immediately, a huge stone structure begins to open. As they enter, Shrills comments that the requirement to enter must have been the blood of the Demon King. They discover a gigantic library, and Ren remarks on all the rare grimoires. Nearby, they spot a person asleep on a reading table. Startled awake by the noise, a little girl asks what's going on. Everyone freezes when they realize it's just a child. Noticing their presence, the girl quickly scoots away from the table. But a moment later, she smiles and introduces herself as Roran the caretaker. Roran excitedly tells them it's been 47 years since she's had visitors. Sensing her immense power, Shrills warns her that she's no child and tells her to show some respect. Just then, Roran recognizes her as the demon who crossed the magical abyss. Immediately changing focus, she zips over to Wood, thrilled to find someone of his species. Looking Wood over, she exclaims that she can feel the aura of drowness, finding it absolutely fascinating. Completely bewildered, Wood asks what she means by that. Kella then asks why the place is so heavily protected if she's so welcoming. She explains that simply making it here is proof that they are worthy. Ren asks what she means by fools, and she confirms they wouldn't have been able to enter. With a serious expression, Roran states that humans are especially destructive. Kella remains silent, just staring intently at the small caretaker. Roran then points right at him, announcing that she is there to help him control his power as the successor. With a smile, she warns that mastering such a power won't be simple at all. Floating in the air, Roran casts a spell called Cosmic Archive Akar. Immediately after, countless books begin to fly off the shelves and surround the group. Rorlin finds a book announcing that it holds the very answer she's been searching for. She reveals that the key is an artifact known as the Demon King's Crystal. Stunned, Kella repeats the name in utter disbelief of what he just heard. She delves into its history, explaining that the crystal was shattered into 3 pieces. Shriel comments on the magic war, but Rorlin corrects her with the precise date. She continues explaining that the humans simply hid the 3 fragments. Showing them a map, she points out that each piece is located on a different continent. Confused, Kella asks what any of this has to do with his current power. Rorlin explains that the crystal is the only vessel that can safely contain his power. She warns that this is why his body can't handle his own strength, causing him to take damage every time he fights. In that moment, Keller realizes that finding the fragments could solve his biggest problem. Roralin confirms this would allow him to use his full power just as Turk Kaldin once did. With a look of pure determination, he understands this is his chance to attain the power of a pureblood. But Rorlin warns that since he isn't a pureblood, this is his only option. Shocked, Keller realizes she was speaking directly into his mind. Ren asks where they can find the fragments, and Rorlin says she knows the location. She then reveals that when she was younger, she met Turk Khaldun himself. Absolutely stunned, Kella asks if she actually met the legendary figure in person. She confirms it's true, explaining that he was seeking the crystal for the sake of his bloodline. She explains that at the time, her people were being slaughtered by humans. She adds that while many call him cruel, that's merely the human perspective on things. With regret, she says she never had the chance to thank him, but now she has finally found his descendant. With tears of joy in her eyes, she says she's overjoyed to finally be able to help his bloodline. Holding his hands, her emotional display of gratitude leaves him completely flustered. Her story forces him to rethink everything he thought he knew about Turk. With great excitement, Rorlin finally announces she'll reveal the crystal's location. She reveals the location is Mortuarium, also known as the Demon King's Graveyard. According to her, Turk himself revealed the first fragment would be there, but she admits she has no idea about the others, much to Kella's irritation. She clarifies for Kella that even a single fragment will boost his power significantly. Kella then asks why humans would hide the crystal in such an obvious place. Rorlin then explains it was hidden there precisely because of the souls that inhabit the place. Furthermore, she warns that the place is littered with trap spells. Angered by their audacity, Shield calls it a blatant mockery. Changing the subject, where Rowland announces she will give them a gift for their journey. She then leaps toward Kella, casting a spell that strikes him directly. She explains it's a protective enchantment that will also reduce any physical damage he takes. Clenching his fist, Kella feels a new strength coursing through his entire body. Next, she offers an ancient magic tome to the mage Shriel. Surprised, Shriel says she believed those spells were nothing more than ancient legends. Rorlin assures her that she will master the magic and asks her to use it well. Seeing this, Ren asks what her gift is and receives a petal. Utterly baffled, she just stares at the strange object, but Rorlin simply tells her to keep it safe. Turning to Wood, she says he already carries the most valuable gift of all. Rorlin then explains that inside him lies the seed of Dronus, which is destined to awaken. Wood says he has no idea what she's talking about. Touching his shoulder, she simply advises that time is their greatest weapon. Rorlin then informs them that Mortuorum is a 6-day journey from their current location. She explains that a crimson mist, a lingering barrier from the ancient magic war, surrounds the entire dangerous place. What's more, the mist can read minds. With a smile, she warns that all their hidden fears will be brought to the surface. Kella soberly points out that if anything goes wrong, some of them could die. Ren then declares with conviction that they can handle it. Kella agrees, adding that they've overcome too many dangers to give up now. As she watches the group, Rorlin realizes the world is finally starting to change. Kella invites her to join their journey, but she politely turns down the offer. He adds that it's a shame, as it would be great to have someone so powerful in their group. As they say their goodbyes, the group thanks Rorlin for all of her help. Smiling, she says there's no need for thanks, since their visit was a gift to her. She then gives them one last warning: don't eat anything in Mortuorum. Hearing her advice, Kella confirms that he understands perfectly. As they leave, Rorlin waves and wishes them all a safe journey. Leaving the library, the group walks through the city at night. As they go, they discuss Rorlin and her apparent connection to Turk. Shriel then suggests that this is all part of a much bigger plan. At that moment, Ren asks if they're heading to Mortuorum, already the fear evident in her voice. Wood tries to calm Ren down, but she snaps back at him irritably. Refocusing the group, Kella states that they need to find the crystal to create the ultimate dungeon. Meanwhile, back at the palace, the king is questioning Killian about his defeat at Kella's hands. On his knees, Killian accepts full responsibility, prompting the king to demand what his plan is now. He then vows that as soon as his arm is healed, he will hunt the group down. With a skeptical look, the king warns him of the consequences of another failure. Killian assures him there's no need to worry swearing on his very life. Elsewhere, 2 guards stand watch over a sinister-looking gate. Inside, one of the mages warns about the risks of the summoning ritual. Even while lying down, Killian orders Curly to proceed with the forbidden ritual. She explains that to inherit the arm is to inherit its will, but Killian insists his own will is stronger, and tells them to start. Without another word, Curly simply observes her captain's unwavering determination. Seeing his persistence, she prepares to start the restoration ritual. At her signal, the mages begin to chant an ancient incantation in unison. They continue to recite the words of the complex and dangerous summoning ritual. Channeling her magic, Curly recites the words of the ancient summoning incantation. The ritual then summons a giant creature that roars down at Killian. He swears he will kill Kella, vowing also to take Shrills for himself. The spirit creature lets out a powerful roar as it looks down at the man. Determined to claim the arm, he says he's ready for the transplant. A few days later, Kella's group travels through a forest at night. Gathered near the campfire, he warns them that they'll reach the blood mist tomorrow. Shrills comments on the spells, remarking that they are truly incredible and complex. Holding her daggers, Ren says they feel more familiar to her now. Wood chimes in that he feels something similar, stating that his shield now whispers to him. Kella concludes that meeting Rorlin has helped them all grow stronger. Suddenly, Wood's ear twitches, a sign that he's sensed something. Leaping to his feet, he warns that people are approaching their camp. Analyzing the situation, Shri notes that their footsteps carry sacred mana. Without a moment's hesitation, Ren jumps up and shouts for them to stop hiding. Stepping out from the shadows, a man approaches and calls out for Kel Calden. The man stares at Kella with intense seriousness, saying he's finally found him. Accompanied by his mages, he comments that the reports about Kella were indeed true. Shri then recognizes him, identifying the man as Hayden, the Archmage of Talawa. At that, Hayden calls her a traitor and warns that there's no point in trying to run. Readying her weapon, Shrills replies that she sees no need to run. With a smirk, Hayden notes she's finally reached the 6th magic circle, but questions if she can face 6 mages enhanced with Imperial crystals. Seeing this, Shrills wonders why the Emperor would use something so precious. Hayden then warns that if they surrender without a fight, he will grant them a painless death. Without hesitation, Hayden launches a spell creating several magical energy swords, but Kella easily dodges every attack thrown his way. Surprised, Hayden orders everyone to attack using the sanctuary's judgment. His mages immediately begin to conjure a powerful light spell. Together, they prepare a combined attack to end the fight in a single blow. Beams of energy rain down from the sky, completely surrounding Kella's group. In response, Shrills creates the Shield of the Abyss to protect everyone. The barrier holds strong, completely blocking the powerful light magic. Hayden screams that it's impossible, as light is supposed to purify darkness. Shrills explains that Abyss magic can match that of the sanctuary. Concentrating her energy, she prepares to launch her own counterattack. Casting the Mist of Oblivion, she hits the enemy mages head-on. Struck by the magic, the men begin to scream as the spell takes hold. Confused, they start asking where they are and beg Hayden to save them. Recognizing the spell, Hayden realizes he doesn't have time to help his men. Determined to strike back, Hayden launches an even more powerful attack, but Shrills dodges it easily and taunts him, asking if that's all he can do while he screams for her to die. He unleashes a concentrated beam of light, but at that exact moment, Kella leaps in front of her, vowing he won't allow it. Using his own power, he blocks the attack, yelling that he won't let anyone die. Hayden is completely stunned to see his spell blocked. Unable to believe Kella's strength, he orders his mages to take care of the other two while he handles this fight. Following his order, one of the mages immediately launches an attack. The spell charges forward and hits Ren squarely, sending the girl flying. In a tight spot, she says she can't keep dodging and calls out for help. In a desperate move, she throws her daggers, which manage to block the spell. Seeing his attack get stopped, the hooded mage is left completely stunned. Her daggers then begin to morph into a much larger weapon. Ren grabs her new weapon, totally astonished by what just happened. She then realizes the daggers responded to her will. Shouting with all his might, Kella begins to unleash his power. His demonic energy expands overwhelmingly around his body. Witnessing this, Hayden wonders what this crushing demonic energy could be. With that, Kella decides it's time to test the technique he was saving for Killian. Unleashing the Ruina Gladi technique, he creates gigantic blades of pure energy. In disbelief, Hayden realizes they've already defeated the mages and used some kind of spell. Feeling he has no other choice, he prepares to use divine teleportation. His spell explodes in a brilliant flash of light and energy that covers the area. A moment later, the light from the spell completely vanishes from the forest floor. Surprised, Kella realizes the enemy used a teleportation spell to escape. Ren is also shocked, wondering how he could have been so fast. Shrills then points out that he fled alone, showing his fear of death. Annoyed, Kella apologizes, saying he should have finished the enemy off, but Shrills calms him down, saying she also wanted him to test his strength. She concludes that at least now they know they can hold their own against the mages. Celebrating, Ren says that thanks to Rorlin, her dagger has gotten way stronger. Wood agrees, and Ren adds that his transformation was incredible. Thanking her for the compliment, Wood gets a little flustered by the unexpected praise. Kella then wonders how Hayden managed to find their location so quickly. Presenting a captured mage, Shrills reveals she caught a spy who was hiding nearby. She then asks if they should interrogate the prisoner to find out what's going on. Suddenly, Kella and Ren stare at the figure in complete surprise. With a sinister smile, the spy asks what happened to the old Kella he used to know. Removing her hood, the spy reveals herself to be Seldera, who seems surprised by his new strength. Utterly shocked, Kella screams her name. He can't believe his eyes. Far away, a teleportation portal opens up in the middle of a desert. Hayden emerges from the portal with a look of pure fury on his face. Falling to his knees, he screams in rage over how the fight turned out. He realizes that it wasn't just Shrills. The entire group has gotten stronger. He knows the Emperor will be furious about his failure. In despair, he hates that he has to rely on Killian's help yet again. In a flashback to the past, a cult is offering pure souls to the great Lumion. Before an altar, the children are told they will become gods alongside Lumiarin. The cult then invokes the divine beast, asking for its blessings and for abundance. The cult leader then addresses the great beast of light, Lumiarin. Ignoring the cries a mother tells her child to go for, Lumiarin awaits. Next, a father shoves a young Killian forward, calling him his proud son. Without a word, young Killian just stares up at the immense divine creature. Then a brilliant light from the divine beast illuminates the entire ritual site. As a result, sacred flames begin to spread throughout the area. Startled, the cult members scream as they're hit by the sudden attack. Just then, a man shouts for someone to save the children from the terrible sacrifice. But the cult leader recognizes him, ordering the Hayden Guild not to interfere. Outraged, he charges forward, questioning how parents could send their own children to die. His attack lands squarely on one of the cultists, who screams from the impact. The cultist then collapses to the ground. completely defeated by the single blow. From the altar, young Killian just watches all the chaos and violence unfold. All the while, the divine beast Lumiarine stares down at the boy hovering above him. Then Hayden grabs him, yelling that children like him shouldn't be sacrificed. As he's being saved, the boy just looks at the man with a blank expression. In the background, his mother cries out in despair that she must offer her child to Lumiarine. Moving quickly, Hayden shields one of the other children who is frightened and crying. Gathering them all, he assures them not to worry, promising that he will protect them. He reminisces that saving Killian was the day that changed his life forever. Back in the present, we see the Hayden Guild headquarters on a peaceful day. After taking the children to the guild, Hayden offers them a new home. At the time, he was content with just having saved the two young boys. He was already aware that young Killian had received the light of the divine beast. But Hayden didn't yet grasp what that truly meant for the future. During a training session, an instructor is rocked by an incredibly powerful blow. Standing over him, Killian listens as the man surrenders after his defeat. The instructor then warns that no one else in the guild is his match. Hayden can't help but wonder how he became so ridiculously skilled with a sword. After his victory, Killian just stares down at the man on the ground. With his eyes glowing, he says he still wants to do much more than that. Sensing the imminent danger, Hayden screams for him to be careful. In the next moment, a huge pillar of energy erupts, striking the instructor head on. Watching the scene unfold, the others shout in horror, wondering if he's gone berserk again. After the explosion, the boy collapses to his knees, surrounded by residual energy. Hayden then understands that Killian's power completely defied all his knowledge. She recalls that Killian's explosive bursts of light always ended up hurting everyone around him. One night, Hayden visits the boy's room for a serious talk. After asking how he's doing, Hayden hears the boy say he feels fine, but then asks who will teach him if everyone dies so easily. Absolutely speechless, Hayden can only listen to the cold words coming from the young boy. Realizing his chilling indifference, Hayden understood he could no longer handle him. He arrives at the royal palace, where the king asks if this is the extraordinary child he's heard about, and Hayden confirms it. He explains that the boy somehow survived the light of the divine beast. Surprised, the king can hardly believe anyone managed to withstand the beast's power. Staring at the boy, the king remarks that he finds him truly fascinating. The king then orders Hayden to bring his guild under the banner of Talawa. He also announces that the child will be assigned to the training division. Thanking him profusely, Hayden realizes this was the major turning point in his life. All because of Killian, his guild became officially affiliated, and he grew that much closer to his dream. Years later, the scene shifts to the Tolkien training division, where an instructor tells him his skill has long surpassed their teachings. The instructor has a talk with Killian. Killian simply replies that from that day forward, he will grow stronger on his own. From a distance, Hayden watched him with a mixture of pride and profound fear. He was certain the day would come when no one could control his immense power. Years later, it is announced that Hayden has been appointed the new Archmage of Talua. Pledging his loyalty, he dedicates his life to the peace and prosperity of the entire kingdom. He thought he had finally climbed to the highest possible position. But young Killian just kept growing stronger, always surrounded by his personal guards. Entrusting him with the most powerful unit, the king appointed him as its commander. Accepting the position, Killian says it is a great honor. And just like that, the boy he had saved became the single strongest being in all of Talawa. Hayden then realizes that the child he rescued had completely surpassed him. Because of this, he had to constantly fight not to be left behind, even while giving his own orders. He knew that any single misstep in his position could cost him his life. So he decides that in order to survive, he must always remain above Killian. He then understands he must be the one to capture Kella, a task where Killian had already failed. To restore his standing, he absolutely needed Kella Khaldun's head. If things kept going like this, he would eventually be destroyed by Killian himself. Clenching his fist, he realizes he has no other choice. With no way out, he decides he must resort to asking those figures for help, the very people he never wanted to associate with. Walking through a rocky landscape, Hayden pressed on through the dark night. He then checks a compass that's pinpointing the place with the strongest energy. With the item in hand, he remarks that he never thought he'd actually use it one day. Using his power, he opens a portal right in front of him and declares he's found it. For the ritual, he bites his own finger until he draws blood. He then extends his hand, pointing his bleeding finger toward the dark portal. A single drop of blood falls from his finger and flies straight into the portal. Emerging from the other side, two figures ask who he is and demand he identify himself. He introduces himself as Hayden and states that he wishes to meet their elder. The scene shifts to a large hall, the base of operations for this mysterious group. Inside, he stands before the leader, who introduces himself as Balion. But Balion is suspicious of his visit and asks what his true intentions are. Without any hesitation, Hayden proposes they cooperate to hunt down Kellicaldin, the last heir. Balion then asks what his group would possibly gain from hunting the king's heir. Hayden replies that he only needs the head and that they can have the body. Scoffing at the proposal, Balion says it would be more fun to just use him as an experiment right then and there. To save his own skin, Hayden offers a rare item called Luminina Ether as part of the bargain. Seeing this, Balion asks in surprise how he got his hands on such an artifact. Hayden explains it was a gift he never got around to using, figuring it would be useful to them. Even so, Balion states that, as a rule, his group doesn't form alliances with anyone. Then Hayden reveals that Kella is in the process of awakening the power of the ancient Demon King. He confirms this, adding that Kella also commands some very powerful mages and allies. Hayden then says this is their only chance to study the king's bloodline. After thinking it over, Balion seems to make a decision. Agreeing to an alliance, he warns Hayden that he will turn his soul into research material if things go wrong. Hayden agrees to the terms, pleased that he successfully manipulated the Tarsa group. Changing scenes. Shrills asks Sella if she used that sword to find him. Sella replies that her sword can locate anyone it has ever cut. Kella then remembers the exact moment that first happened. In a quick flashback, his mother Caristy strikes him with the sword so she can always track him. Confirming her story, he warns that he's going to take Carista's sword from her. She then wonders why he called her mother Carista. Remembering how he always used to cry, she screams that he is not Kella. He then warns that she can't track him without the sword and tells her to get lost. At this, Shrills confronts Sella, asking why she brought Hayden here. Sella denies it, explaining she couldn't have found Kella on her own. Grabbing him, she explains that she tricked Hayden and begs to stay by his side. He then stares at her in silence and just says her name, Sella. Without changing his expression, he tells her to stop pretending and get lost immediately. With a clenched fist, she screams, calling him a bastard for daring to order her away. Turning suddenly, she decides to call out to Ren for help. Running towards her, Sella hugs her and begs for help, convincing Kella. As she's being hugged tightly, Ren remains motionless, hiding her face for a moment. It's then revealed that she was holding Carista's sword the whole time. Attacking Sella, Ren asks how she dares to ask for help after everything that's happened. Ren then says the only thing she can offer Sella is death. Angered, Sella demands to know how a mere servant dares raise a sword against her, but Kella interrupts the fight, grabbing her arm with fury. Getting in her face, he asks who she was calling a mere servant. Frozen in fear, she begins to beg Kella to spare her life. With a swift move, he violently throws her to the ground without a second thought. Looking down at her, he warns that if she ever shows her face again, he'll kill her. Even from the ground, Sella curses him in a rage for the humiliation. Scrambling to her feet, she uses her speed to flee as fast as she possibly can. After it's all over, Ren thanks Kella, saying she is just his servant. He then corrects her, saying she hasn't been a servant for a long time. Touched by his kindness, Ren can only look at him with immense gratitude. Then Shrills asks if letting her go was the right move, but Kella replies that she's no match for them. With a smile, he explains that more living heirs just create more chaos among the humans. He adds that they can use Sella to divert the kingdom's attention away from them. Now at a safe distance, Sella scoffs, saying Kella was a fool to let her go. Revealing her plan, she explains that she planted a mana spider on Ren's body. During the hug, she managed to hide the tiny creature on her former ally's back. Now Ren's body is directly linked to hers because of the trap. Everything Ren sees and hears will be transmitted straight to her without them ever knowing. With a smirk, she declares that sparing her life was the biggest mistake he has ever made. Balion then summons his crew, calling them in for a mission. He introduces a trio, explaining they're the result of years of research. Hayden is stunned, admitting he's never felt mana of that level in his entire life. He adds that the three of them easily surpass the sixth circle of magic. He then realizes just how much Tarsa's research had advanced, while everyone else was distracted. With a smile, Balion orders them to lead the hunt for Kella alongside Hayden. Their leader, Seraphine, promptly promises to personally bring back the king's heir. Next to her, Kale celebrates, thrilled to finally get out into the world. The third member, Luna, simply clears her throat and continues to observe in silence. Seeing their power, Hayden concludes that they might actually be able to pull off the mission. With a determined look, he states that Kellisen will not escape this time. Elsewhere, Kella's group arrives at the Blood Mist Zone. Worried Wood notes that his shield is trembling and asks if they are going to be all right. Trying to calm him down, Ren reminds him that they have defeated powerful enemies before. Overhearing them, Kella thinks to himself that maybe he should give his daggers names too. Clutching his sword, he notices its mana stabilizing, just like Wood's shield. However, he knows it's still not enough, and with no turning back, he decides the group will rest and cross the mist in the morning. Back at the palace, night has fallen over the kingdom's imposing structure. Inside, Killian announces that the long and difficult process is finally complete. Raising his transformed arm, he reveals that it is now the arm of Rudolph. Worried, Curly asks him to give a signal if Rudolph ever tries to invade his mind. He reassures her, guaranteeing that no one can invade his mind so easily. Just then, a soldier bursts into the room shouting that he has urgent news for the captain. He reports that Hayden attacked Kella, but only 2 wounded mages returned alive. Worse still, the soldier reports that Hayden's current whereabouts are completely unknown. Clenching his fist, he admits he was careless, and that Hayden has become a victim of his mistake. Curly then remarks that Kella is growing stronger, especially now that he's working with Shrills. He orders her to summon the white-clad Tolkien to track Kella down as quickly as possible. Back with the group, Kella explains that the mist tests whether or not everyone shares the same goal. Asking about the mist, Ren wants to know if they all need to have the exact same intention. Answering her, Wood says that shouldn't be a problem. He explains that it's okay for everyone to have a different reason for pressing forward. But Shri corrects him, saying the important thing is that they're together to protect each other. Agreeing with her, Ren enthusiastically shouts that she'll protect everyone in the group too. With his eyes closed, Wood simply confirms that the same goes for him. With a smile, Kella says that as long as they all feel that way, they won't have any problems. He then tells everyone to trust in one another as they enter the mist. Following his lead, the group heads into the mysterious area. Inside the mist, a strange red crystal starts to materialize right in front of them. All of a sudden, he realizes he's alone and shouts out, trying to see if everyone is still nearby. He wonders why all he can hear are strange noises. Just then, he catches a flash of rapid movement to his right. When he turns his head, his eyes go wide. Right there in front of him is a vision of himself sitting on an imposing throne. He's shocked to see that in this vision, he's the mighty Demon King. Frozen in place, he can only stare at the image before him, unable to react. In the vision, he's sitting all alone on a throne made of skulls. Seeing this, he starts to wonder if this is what he truly desires. He questions if he really wants to become a great and feared king. Suddenly, a shadowy creature appears, offering to grant his wish. Floating in midair, he's completely confused about what's happening. The shadow then offers him power, calling him by a name he doesn't recognize, Kang Chi Wu. He's shocked and wonders how this mysterious creature could possibly know his real name. Just then, the shadow promises him the perfect world he yearned for in his past life. He finds himself agreeing, admitting that he does desire the perfect world he created. The entity says it knows this and beckons for him to come closer, but he refuses, declaring that the future it showed him isn't who he is. He explains that his true companions are the friends right by his side. He shouts angrily, "What's the point of being the strongest if I'm all alone without them?" The creature is taken aback by his answer, confused as to why he'd refuse such an offer. He turns and yells for everyone to hear that it's all an illusion and not to fall for it. But the creature tells him it's a mistake to lie to his own heart. Feeling an immense pressure, he struggles to resist, screaming that he won't give in to its power. He falls to his knees, realizing there's no escaping the mist. Elsewhere, Shrills is also trapped in an illusion created by the same blood mist. In her vision, she sees her brother as the Demon King, having destroyed everything in his path. The same shadowy figure promises to open a path for her to make that future a reality right now. She wonders if that's even possible, skeptical of the vision before her. Meanwhile, Ren is lost in her own illusion, completely cut off from reality. In her vision, Kella is by her side, not with Shrills. Smiling, she thinks she can finally have Kella all to herself. The dark entity then promises to grant her wish, telling her to come closer. As she reaches out, she declares that Kella belongs to her and no one else. With her eyes glued to the vision, she seems utterly consumed by the powerful temptation. Thinking back, she recalls loving Kella from the very first moment she saw him and how he accepted her as a friend. Even though she was just his servant, he now treated her like a true companion, a real friend. After everything, she still loved him and wanted to always be by his side. But for a moment, her train of thought suddenly shifts. Taking a step forward, she says, this isn't just about her. Reaching out her hand, she states that her real wish is for the good of everyone. Screaming with all her might, she refuses to give in to such a powerful temptation. Suddenly, the petals she was carrying erupt in a powerful explosion right in front of her. Surprised, she wonders if those were the petals Roland gave her. Just then, a woman appears, telling her she seems worthy of a proper meeting. Startled by the sudden appearance, Ren asks the woman who she is. The woman introduces herself as Clarine, a swordswoman who once trained alongside Turk Keldon. Overcome with relief, she cries, saying she can finally gain the strength to protect everyone. Clarine calms her down, explaining she will now guide her through her own mind. As Clarine tells her to take the blades, the daggers' names suddenly come to her. With the daggers in her hands, she finally learns their names Dove and Crow. Clarine offers words of encouragement, reminding Ren that she's with her and urging her to cut through the mist. With one swift movement, she launches a powerful, unexpected attack against the dark entity. A single strike is all it takes to cut through and completely dispel the illusion. Back in reality, she realizes the blood mist has completely vanished. A confused Shrills walks over and asks what just happened. Kella, just as bewildered, asks Ren if she was the one who cleared the mist. Overwhelmed with emotion, Ren cries as she explains that she met Clarine, one of Turk Keldon's companions. Kella tells her to calm down, but Ren insists she feels fantastic. Shrills then congratulates her, admitting that even she wasn't able to resist the mist's temptation. Still laughing, Ren turns to Wood and asks what kind of temptation he faced. Wood explains that he wasn't tempted at all. The mist just disappeared while he was walking. Kella wonders aloud if the entity simply had nothing to tempt Wood with. With a deadpan expression, Wood replies that he doesn't really have any desires. Kella falls silent for a moment, reflecting on Wood's answer. He begins to question if his own deepest desire is truly to become the strongest. Clenching his fist, he grows angry with himself for failing to resist the temptation. Shrills, despite being from the sixth circle, also reflects on whether her own deepest desires had surfaced. Once they're all through the mist, Kella announces that their next destination is Mortarum. Standing before the entrance, he announces that they've arrived at the gate to Mortarum. Kella comments that the place radiates sheer terror, while Wood notes that even his shield is trembling. As Shrills approaches the door, she reads an inscription that forbids entry to all living beings. Annoyed, Ren asks if that means they have to die just to get inside. Determined, Kella walks up to the gate to use his magic. Suddenly, an entity appears, demanding to know who dares enter the realm of death. Fearlessly, Kella introduces himself as Kella Keldon, son of the Demon King Helkan. The entity scoffs, calling him a half-breed and warning that it will kill him for his audacity. Furious, Kella declares that Rorn wouldn't have sent him all this way just to be stopped at the gate. Unleashing his mana to its absolute limit, he screams for the gate to open at once. The Guardian is stunned, mistaking him for Turk Keldon. Kella, confused, wonders why the Guardian just called him Turk Keldon. Although still confused, the Guardian announces that it no longer has any reason to block their path. The Guardian opens the giant skull's mouth, simply telling the group to enter. An astonished Shrills asks if Kella was just mistaken for someone else, while Ren cheers for his incredible power. Recalling the vision, Kella is now certain that the man he saw was indeed Turk Keldon. He starts to wonder if he, like his companions, is also connected to Turk, but with no time to dwell on it, he announces that the door is open and they need to move. As they enter, Kella tells everyone to stay on high alert since they have no idea what to expect. They suddenly find themselves in a vast cemetery filled with the souls of ancient kings. Angered by their intrusion, the souls demand to know why they've come. One of the spirits suddenly grows to a massive size and roars for the others to kill the intruders. Without a moment's hesitation, Kella draws his sword and tells the group to prepare for a fight. In an instant, the souls swarm and surround them, screaming about how they dare disturb their eternal rest. Kella tries to calm them down, shouting that they've only come for the king's crystal. However, one of the spirits retorts that he is not worthy of possessing such a relic. Realizing it's no use, Kella understands that these spirits aren't mistaking him for Turk. At that moment, Shrills unleashes her abyss spear, summoning a barrage of weapons to attack. Several spears strike the spirit dead on, and it takes the full brunt of the attack. Nearby, Ren attacks, while politely apologizing to the soul she's fighting. Wood uses his shield to block an incoming attack, telling his shield to be brave. Kella lets out a battle cry as he charges the spirit in front of him, sword at the ready. With a confident smirk, he swings his sword only to see it pass right through the enemy's body. The spirit calls them fools, sneering that they can't be cut. Kella is in complete shock as his attack fails, unable to understand what just happened. The soul then explains that, while they can't be hurt, the same can't be said for the intruders. In the next instant, one of the spirits lands a direct hit right on his chest. He realizes that even his mana-infused sword can't harm the spirits. To his shock, he also notices that his wounds aren't healing like they normally do. The spirit snarls at him to abandon all hope and simply die. Unable to defend himself, Kella takes another vicious blow to the same spot. Desperate, he wonders what he can possibly do, since neither his attacks nor his healing abilities are working. Meanwhile, another spirit turns to Shrills and asks if she's prepared to meet her end. She quickly realizes her spells are useless, since they're the same element as the enemy. Meanwhile, Ren complains that her swords can't even scratch the spirits as one of them smacks Wood's shield aside. Seizing the opportunity, one of the spirits creates an opening for an attack. Watching the scene unfold, Ren freezes, completely unsure of what to do. Just then, a spirit grabs Wood, threatening to shred and devour his very soul. Caught off guard, Wood feels his own energy being consumed by the spirit. Desperate, Ren screams for the rookie to snap out of it. Kella, trying to protect Wood, takes a direct hit and is run straight through the chest. As Kella lies wounded, the spirit mocks him, telling him to accept his own powerlessness and embrace death. Seeing his companion fall, Shrill screams Kella's name in pure desperation. But even with a fatal wound, Kella tells Wood to hang on, promising he'll still find a way to save him. As he collapses to the ground, Kella can only manage to call out his friend Wood's name. He lies completely motionless on the ground, unable to move after the devastating blow. Finding himself in a dark void, he wonders if this is really it, if he's finally died. Thinking of his friends, he's filled with regret that he couldn't protect them. He fumes, angry that once again he failed to create the peaceful world he dreamed of. Just then a demonic spirit grabs him and calls him an idiot. The spirit tells him it won't let him die after they've come this far. Startled, Kella recognizes him as Turk Callan, the ancient demon king.